Quiet on the set. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Welcome to Mondays with Myrt, where we talk about anything and everything that's happened in the last week or so since last we met. And I'm so excited to see this. Yay, Miriam, you're here. Usually she's working hard for the state of Washington over there in Spokane. Gosh, we've got people from Toronto, Cincy. Hi, Linda. I feel like the romper room lady sometimes. Yeah, it's April Fool's Day. Yep, it is. And let's see what we've got here. There's our Granite Bay, California gal. And we've got our friend from Oslo. Hi. Here's Arkansas. And gosh, it's so good to see everybody. I'd like to introduce you to our panelists today. We've got Frank from Germany, Daniel from Ireland, Tami, I was going to say from Conference Keeper, but that works too. It seems like you live there, doesn't it?
It does.
Maria Capaldi's here from Pennsylvania. Sherry's here, and she's helping me a lot. Ellen's here. She keeps locking up because she's traveling. So what we're going to do is have her in the backstage, and she can give us comments and things in our private chat as well. And of course, our good friend Liv Argel up there in Norway. So we've got two people from Norway. Gosh, you're like almost overrepresenting there. I don't know. Okay, let's have all the panelists slide on down. If you could do that, please. And Frank and Daniel, when you pop up on my screen, that lets me know there's a crisis. Like I missed something important, and we're going to go from there. So, what are we talking about today? Here it is April Fool's Day, and in fact, do they do that in Norway? Leaf?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so it's one of those universal things. Well, because of us in Norway, it makes it universal. Yeah, I don't know. I'm moving a few people down to the backstage. They're not gone. They're just temporarily away from us. And Sherry, can you move yourself down, please? I'm trusting you all to do that. So here's the plan today. There's no ego today. No ego allowed at all. We are going to have a session where we talk about mistakes we've made in the past. Foolish mistakes, possibly. Yeah. That maybe cost us a lot of time and extra effort. And by our sharing together in the self-help group for Mondays with Myrt this week, we're going to get some good ideas out there to help us stay in the hunt and to use our time wisely. We're going to be visited a little bit later by Cindy of Cindy's List. But right now, I want to talk with Tami. And we're also going to be talking with Roger. Now, Roger is there, obviously in the workshop at Gilmore, which is a antique car place, isn't it not, sir?
Well, it's a car museum. There's cars here from, I think, 1899 is the oldest car that's here, but there's cars up into the 1980s, 1990s. So it's not just
that old,
antique cars.
I know.
There's something like 400 cars on display here and another 150 or so in storage.
And this is a different way of preserving history, and I think it's so cool. You're working as a mechanic, volunteering as a mechanic to keep things running, right?
Yeah, usually. Sometimes it's moving cars around. Today it was helping prepare display signs for a new display that's going in, all about station wagons.
Sounds like the kind of work that our Anacortes Museum does. And then they do periodic shows. Like right now, their show is photographers of the Anacortes area that helps people understand more and get a better view of what things were like historically. hysterically, as my one of my grandchildren used to say. All right. And then Tami up there is joining us. Tami, you're a smart gal. You love technology, don't you?
I do. It solves lots of problems.
It does. It totally does. Well, this is what we're going to talk about today. You found a way to solve a problem that you have, a time-saving problem. And it works on Windows. And then I asked in my group somewhere, does anybody have a Mac? It's something like that, comparable. And Roger jumped right in, which meant I had to break his arm and get him in here today to show the same process with a slightly different program. What was the problem you needed to solve, Tami?
Well, the problem was the result of a foolish mistake, and egos out the window. Having a bunch of files and actually my problem at that time was I had a bunch of photos and I hadn't adequately labeled them. And I was working specifically with cemetery photos, and I wanted to put the prefix of the state and the cemetery on all of the photos from that cemetery. So if if I got them separated, if I found one alone, I would know which cemetery it had gone to. And
Oh, good idea.
I started out, just individually copying and
One by
pasting in
one.
one by
Yeah.
one, going, this is not going to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some searching and I found the easiest way to do it, and it's from Microsoft themselves, and it is so simple that I can't believe it, and it's completely free too. So it's called Power
Okay.
Toys. You ready?
Okay, yeah, I see you turned. Oh, there you go. Tammy,
Okay.
this is your desktop and you're on Windows.
Okay.
Okay, so take it away.
So when you have a Windows PC, I'm on Windows 11, and my search bar is down here in the very bottom left. And to install Power Toys, you're just going to go down into that Windows search bar and type in Power Toys. And when you do that the first time, it'll say up here Power Toys app, and you just click on that and install it. And it's a Microsoft program, so it's safe for your computer. It's not something that you need to worry about. And
Okay,
once
I
you ins
just did,
okay,
I just did that, and it comes up, and I can learn about it. There it is, overview and reviews, and what operating systems it works on. And it's at a place called GitHub. What does that tell me? The
that
download.
that is free.
Yeah, yeah,
Usually.
yeah. People worry about this kind of a URL. Let me grab it, and I will send it out in comments to everybody. That prefix GitHub sometimes alarms people. The first time I heard it, I thought GitHub sounds a little geeky, and am I in the dark web? What about hackers? That's a safe place, and Myrt will only take you to safe places and introduce you to reasonably kind people, which you are one, Tami.
Well, thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Okay,
So
go for it.
so you just follow the quick instructions to install it on your computer, and then the next time you go down here, then it runs in the background, so you don't even have to think about it again. Um, and so there's two things I'm going to show you. First, I'm going to kind of show you what you can look at in Power Toys, and then I'm going to show you how easy it is to do the bulk renaming. So
Okay.
now, when you type in Power Toys down here in your search, it brings it up, and if you click on it, it'll open up the main Power Toys panel, and where I want you to go is down to where'd it go? Let's see, was it Power Toys Run? I think that was it.
Okay, while you're doing that, let me mention that Marcia found it by going to the Microsoft store, and she didn't have to go to GitHub, but that's perfectly fine. Yep.
Okay. So you want to, if you go to the Power Toys, Welcome to Power Toys from the list that pops up,
Yeah.
that's this window over here, and you can it has all of these different add-ins, and you can
Oh.
just click on it, and this will tell you what that does. And so these are all the different tools that you've just added. You can turn some of them on, you can turn some of them off. The power rename is the main one that I used. I clicked around in some of these, and I can see where some of them may be useful, but they're not on my radar just yet. So I'm kind of not. I got other things to deal with. So so I want to go just stick with the power rename. So now I'm going to close this out and figure out how to close this one out. There we go. So here's my issue. I've got a folder full of files, and these are my Burge family files. This is just for my sample that I want to show you. So let's just say I want to add the Burge surname to some of these. You can do it to all of them. You can do it to some of them. So you just highlight the files that you want to rename, and you right click, and then down here you see it says rename with Power Rename. Brings up this awesome window. I can let me show you a couple things first. So here, if they all started with a word, like in photos they start with img, you can search for that and replace it with something else here. If you just want to add a prefix, you put in the little caret, and we're going to type in on this Burge, and I want to put a space after it. And you can see here's my files that I had selected. And over here, when I click apply, this is what they're now going to look like.
Oh, I like that you can see before and possibly after. Before, in other words, it isn't just immediately invoking this command.
Correct. You have to hit apply.
Okay, good.
And I can hit apply, and then and so the panel shows now. So here's now my new file names, and if I kept it that way, it's going to add it again. But I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to close out of that. And you can see here's my files over here now, with the Burge name appended as a prefix.
And you know what? If you hadn't selected those files, you'd be only about a third of the way through your selected files if you're doing the normal copy and paste. So you are no longer foolishly doing those single one at a time when you can do this bulk file rename with a prefix.
Wonderful for photos, especially.
And so the kicker to let this work is the caret, which is Shift 6.
Yes. And that's to add a prefix.
Okay, so there are other things we can add, but we're keeping it to this to keep it simple, because I'm a fool and I might mess up if you tell me too many options all at once. Okay. Hey, thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Nadine, I'm not sure what computer you're using to view this, but trust me, this is worth learning. She says that she would like the screen to be bigger. Yeah, it's okay. I totally got it. Let's talk with Daniel or not Daniel, Roger. And we're going to have you share your screen. I'll turn it on. Okay, now yours is a little easier to read. Okay, and you're on a MacBook.
Yeah, this is a MacBook Pro. And yesterday I created a folder with a bunch of stupidly named files just by duplicating the file over and over again.
Yes.
The software that I'm going to show you is called a Better Finder Rename, which is it's a software that you have to buy. I think it cost me $25 to get a lifetime license to everything that this guy makes.
Okay, I'll go look for it.
Similar to what Tami showed about, it lets you, we can select all these files, right click, and down in the pop-up menu, you see a Better Finder Rename version 12. I've been using this one since about version 3, I think. So
Wow.
this is the interface for it. So like Tami showed, on the left is my files that I'm going to work on. On the right is what the name is going to be. So just as a quick overview, these are all the different things you can do to a file. You can change characters, you can change character positions, you can convert things, you can truncate file names to fit, for example, the old ancient 8.3 for Windows. You can append date and times, you can alter date and times, you can append sequence numbers, you can do stuff with Roman numerals if you want to, you can do stuff with alphabetical sequences. And then I'm not set up to show this today, but if you have MP3 files, you can do things to them, like you can append the duration of the MP3 file to the actual file name. If you have image files, you can append the date taken, the image dimensions and stuff like that. But if we start up in text.
Okay, you've got a pop-up that we can't see. All we're seeing is your AB, is your original folder with your dummy text file.
Oh, do I have to share it? Yeah, okay. I guess
Yeah,
I
you
have to
need to
share
go.
a different.
Okay, so what I'm going to do while you're working at it, do that, not just the window, but the entire screen.
Yep.
And minimize your StreamYard as soon as possible. Once that's straight, I'll bring you back up.
A window.
So, Tami, some of the things that he mentioned are things you're probably seeing in your Power Toys option.
It sounds that way, and I don't have
Can
a
you see
Mac.
that now?
So
All right, let me see what we've got. Okay, now I see your. Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'll start again. So
well, no, we're fine. We understand there's a drop-down menu with lots of choices.
Yeah, these are all the different things you can do to a file, whether it's a text, a file name, or things with image files. In the text section, these are all the things you can do here. You could add text to them in beginning or the end. You can put text in front of existing text. You can remove text from various places. You can replace text. You can move text to after existing text. So if we just look at the simple one, if we want to add text to the beginning, if we want to here put demo, help if I could type properly. So I'm going to add the word demo to all of these file names. And you can see on the right now, it's showing me what the end result will be.
Same difference, yeah.
So that's the same. We can do it to the file name and extension, or we can just do it to the file name without the extension. If we want to, we can do it to the extension and separator. But if we want to remove some text from the beginning, I could remove the word untitled from all of those.
Oh, okay. Tami, can you do a bulk remove?
I haven't.
She's going to go look.
Yes, that's exactly true. I mean, I was looking at you can do you can change your file extension name and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
But
okay.
And you could easily delete, because you would be using it. You select your files, let's see, rename with power rename, and at the top, yeah, you could instead of that caret, you could put whatever it is you wanted to remove, and then in the second box just leave it blank, and it's going to delete whatever you took out, whatever you put in there. It's either replace or delete.
So this is our techie moment for the day. I think we are going to have a couple other technical issues to resolve. These two programs, and I did find the Better Finder rename and gave the link to everyone out there in the on the YouTube side who are viewing. So I want to thank you two for visiting with us today. And yeah, let me, for brand recognition, share what it looks like. Excuse me. Share what it looks like when you are looking at Better Finder file name. It's in publicspace.net. And they're explaining how to use it. And you can go from there. I think I can zoom in for you guys. I'll always try to do that. Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much, Tami and Roger. Roger, I know you want to get back to work.
No, I want to go to lunch now.
Oh, lunch. Oh, yeah, I hear you.
We're on Easter.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Pat. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Hillary's here now. Thank you, Hillary. All right, let's see what's next on the docket. Now, I think I'm going to talk with Hillary. Are you ready? And let me share my screen. One of the things that I tended to avoid for a number of years is online trees because of the problem with erroneous information. But I was really shooting myself in the foot because there are some great advantages to online trees. And in fact, Dr. Thomas W. Jones calls it source snobbery if you just categorically decide to eliminate a record set like online trees in their various iterations across ancestry, Find My Past, My Heritage, Family Search. WikiTree is an interesting shared tree. And I'll tell you why it's really important to me. Aside from the fact that I got to be a challenge person one year, and somebody found out finally who Dolly Yaki's parents are. Unlike the other trees that I've seen that can be publicly altered because it's a one world tree, WikiTree enthusiasts are particularly strong when it comes to sources. So people have been adding sources. You do source-a-thons. How many times a year do you do source-a-thons? It's hard to say that 3 times fast, Hillary.
They only do one source-a-thon. They do 3 connect-a-thons and a source-a-thon
Connect.
at the
Yeah.
moment. The connect-a-thon is really adding people to the tree so that people can then connect up with others.
They're more likely. Yeah, that connect-a-thon increases the chance. You know, if I just did my direct line people going up the tree, thank you, then we can see you better, darling. It's all about looking good. If we just did my direct line ancestors, and that's all I put on my DNA tree, for instance, people are going to have to work hard to try to find a connection. And my best genealogical breakthroughs have been because somebody who's a sibling to one of my great grandmothers noticed that relationship because I learned to flesh out my tree with those siblings. And that person had pictures, and I had the family Bible. I kid you not. It's right up there on my shelf. I've got 3 of those big, heavy, clunky family Bibles with the metal latch on the side. And were we able to collaborate? Yeah. All right. So what's happening on this WikiTree challenge? What are people doing?
Well, we've now got thanks to the tech people, a lot. There are quite a few people involved with creating apps, which are many of them are extensions to people's browsers, which help with their sourcing of profiles. And thanks to that, one of the things that they have got is something that they call the CC7 score, which means that those people that are 7 degrees away from an individual. So what they try to do now when they're doing this is they try to build out any of the relatives that are connected within those 7 degrees. So it needn't necessarily be somebody that's a biological relationship. It could be marriage relationships and things like that, because the more we build those out, the more chance we've got of connecting with others.
Totally get that. Betty Lou said something interesting. Because one of her lines had been worked on for more than 100 years, she has to be aware of other trees. The people who worked on that line 100 years ago had misread early Quaker records. So the foolish mistake, and correct me if I'm wrong, Betty Lou, one of the mistakes people make with Quaker records is they forget that for the longest time, when the Quaker record says the third month of they're talking, we're thinking it's March, they're thinking March, April, May. They're thinking May because their calendar system was different. I had to think that through and count on my fingers. I got to tell you a secret. Cindy is in the building. We'll be talking with her soon. Anyway, all right. So, in fleshing out, and how do we say Miss Alexander's name? Mealy?
I'm assuming it's Melly, but I'm not.
Melly. Oh, like Melly, like Melanie.
Yeah, I would have thought so, yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I haven't pronounced it, but I'm very intrigued. What I recommend WikiTree as a place to put your compiled genealogy. It was very important to the founder of WikiTree that the privacy rights of living individuals were protected. I initially only uploaded from my dad on, not because he had passed away. So there's me, my dad, and then the rest of his side of the family. And then I learned I could add more because I became more familiar with how this website worked. So for me, when I was the recipient of the WikiTree challenge, which meant that WikiTree workers worked very hard on my tree. They didn't ask Frank to help because we weren't working on the German side of the tree, Frank. They were working on upstate New York on my early Palatine migration, the Conrad Weiser, Lowenstein Manor, all of that, before he went into Pennsylvania. And they were able to find something that didn't occur to me. I had the Schemendigger list of people that came over in 1710 to upstate New York, but I wasn't thinking about spelling and sound-alike words. And that is where my biggest breakthrough on my Dolly Yaki came through, because it was a J, not a Y. And the J was like Johann, Yaki. And but I digress. Okay. So if people belong to WikiTree, and I recommend that you do it because you want to get your tree out there, upload your GEDCOM and learn the protocols. And there's genealogy help. Ask a question. Yeah, it's a good website. And Hillary is our gal at WikiTree. I think I need to say, not just our gal in Wales.
Yeah, I've been updating people today. I was updating somebody. Went over to Ancestry to see what I could find, only to find some photos. So you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah, we're busy working on one side of our tree. If we don't put it out there and have other people observe it, they may have something to share on another side of our tree. We can't do it all. Yeah. Anything else I should have said about this, Hillary? I didn't mean to talk so much.
People need to be familiar with things on WikiTree, but they do get some help because we use a sort of an online chat thing called Discord. We use for and people help each other out in the Discord when they're working on these challenges. So even if you haven't done one before, as long as you've signed the WikiTree on a code, you can work on people that aren't in your actual own one, that your own tree then, because if you've only joined as a family member, you can only work on your own family tree. But if you sign that on a code to say that you'll do, that you'll put a source up when you add anything, and that, then you can join in with the challenge and you can learn. And a lot of people, I've tended to stick to the areas that I've known most of the time, but some people quite, if you've got family from all over the place, it's worth having a go, and finding out more about how to research in different areas of the world, because there's usually somebody that knows how to research in that area. Even if there's not a great deal to be found, they can sometimes find things because they know where to find them.
So you mentioned joining, and it's only and it's free.
Yeah, it's free. You can upload. There's a limit to how much you can upload at a time, which is good, because you need to. What you upload is you just check what you've got against what's already on WikiTree. And so if you find a match, then you don't obviously need to add that one. You can try and help update what's already there. But if you find there's people that aren't there, then you will be able to do it. But there's quite a strict limit to what you can upload, so you would need to just limit what you do. I think it's sensible to limit what you do when you're first joining anyway, because you've got to get used to the site.
Oh, totally. And there are certain ways to cite sources, etc., to provide images of them, etc. Finding out the answer, what's a CC7 score, you just got to dive in and go find out. This isn't we're not focusing totally on WikiTree, but just remember that old Myrt used to warn people and say, don't look at online trees. Don't. We need to collaborate. I'm pretty smart. Don't tell Mr. Myrt anything otherwise. Wait, he's listening in the other room. But I need all the help I can get, and I appreciate WikiTree. Thank you, Hillary.
Make some connections by building. I've found out an awful lot since I've joined WikiTree, I must admit.
I think it's pretty cool. I did bring up Discord because the first time I heard of Discord, I was a little bit concerned about it. And it's a legitimate communication system. Was originally used for gamers, and so that was the first time I was exposed to the black background as opposed to a white background, and it seemed like there were mostly young gamers there. But this is a very effective way to have an independent, like, message board system with notifications going out and categories within that, for instance, for WikiTree workers who are working on a specific tree, and somebody else will say, I'm having trouble with this. And so you might think of this Discord as an option. Daniel, let me ask you to come up, because I know, I see your comment there, that you use it for Project Infant. And tell me, this is how you communicate rather than sending email to your volunteers. Tell me more.
Yeah, so essentially how I tend to use it is it's obviously similar to how Hillary would describe it. It's just like a message board for the volunteers to kind of communicate. Like I've got I think about 35 people, and it would save me an awful lot of email space if I wasn't emailing people all the time. So being able to kind of communicate using Discord has been very useful, as it would allow me to kind of get a message out to people very quickly, but also it would allow collaboration between people, because it would like split things up into channels where you can I suppose I got different channels for like different homes that we might be working on, and it could be different aspects of collaboration from like, hey, what does this say? Can anyone read this occupation or this cause of death? Or just to even just talk about next steps, pretty much.
They do ask for your birth date, and you can be like my friend who puts January 1st, 1952. what they're trying to do is cover their tushies so that it's above 18 years of age, kind of a thing. That's reasonable. They have to do that. Anyway, that communication is so important. And especially when you're dealing with folks like Daniel is, where his volunteers are all over the world. Yeah. Hillary?
WikiTree is certainly WikiTree. We've got people in everywhere, basically.
So this is a great way to have an independent, non-Google communication system. And yeah, there are other systems. Andrew's mentioning Slack in the business setting. So is Sherry, one of our panelists. Yeah. And there's Andrew saying, yep, he knows about that. Yeah, it's a good thing to know about. Might be good for a genealogy society to have a board meeting. You want to say something there, Daniel?
I was going to say, I keep advocating for societies to use it because it'd be perfect for them, because you can manipulate different settings as part of Discord to kind of like make a section of it that would be only viewable for like the board or something. And you could even use it to kind of like host presentations as well, and that's all free.
Yeah.
We use it. WikiTree, we have it so that there's certain areas on what we have different servers for WikiTree. We have a main WikiTree server, but the England project is quite large, and I also belong to the Wales project as well. We have sections of those that only certain people can access because you give them certain access rights. So people that are coordinating things might have more rights than somebody who's just a plain member, but that's on purpose so that you can discuss things that you don't need to discuss with everybody. So.
Yeah, totally get that. It's exactly what we need. And okay. Well, thank you two, for talking with me about this. And we're going to use our time more wisely. I think we are going to be saving time using the tools available to us with technology. The cool thing about it, if we are not able to be there at a meeting at the same time as everybody else, these kinds of systems like Discord make it possible for us to look at what happened while we were sleeping. That's all good. All right. So I think I'd like to talk with Cindy next. Now, who the heck is she? Yeah. I want to pull up her website first before we go too much farther. Oh, yes. Also would like to ask my co-host to share the link to Conference Keeper, because I forgot to share that when we had Tami visiting with us. I'll give it to you in the private chat. Yeah. It's all good. All right. Now I'm going to pull up Cindy's list. Yeah, and pull up Miss Cindy here. Hi, dear.
Good morning.
She said she was going to be good, and I'm like, oh darn.
I promised not to be a pain.
That was it.
That's
not
what
to be a pain, and I'm like, I wasn't going to ask for
that promise. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't going to ask for the impossible. All right, so it's very expensive to belong to this website and to use its resources. You get that a lot, don't you?
I do get that a lot. I get people, Cindy's list has been free since I put it online in 1996, but I get people all the time that send me emails asking for a refund or to cancel their credit card. And I have to write back and say, it's free. I didn't take your credit card. I've had people argue with me about that. And and one lady said, are you sure? Yes, I am sure. It is 100% free. It's a directory of links. So I probably pointed them to some website that took their credit card. They're going to have to go figure out where that was.
Yeah. So your favorite color happens to be purple. And amazingly, that's what you use for your buttons and stuff like that.
Yep.
Now you do have advertising, and that is perfectly reasonable.
Yes.
You also are looking at what's this that's scrolling by? Little
That is a
post?
blog roll. That's like the popular genealogy blogs that everybody follows. So it's just a little news feed, genealogy news feed. The idea was if you come into the front page of Cindy's List first thing in the morning, read your genealogy news, and then start doing your research. So.
Mm-hmm. And when we click the donate button, it takes us to PayPal, and a person does not have to have a PayPal account, do they?
No, they don't. The little link right next to it, why donate? If you go there, my mailing address is there, and you can mail a check. I suppose I should come up with some more ideas for how people can get me some money
Yeah,
for it. But the donations
drop
are,
ship that with some chocolate, from an
that
airplane
always
flying
helps.
low.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
that
do
makes
take
sense.
payment in dark chocolate, especially if it's got caramel. Yeah.
Okay. Now that's not foolish. That's smart. All
That
right.
is
Well, I invited you here for a very frank discussion. And did you want to share your screen, or are we going to talk face to face like this? What's our plan?
I can share my screen. You wanted me to
Okay.
ask first. First, I'll maybe talk about what it is.
Yes.
So you asked me to talk about spoofing versus hacking on Facebook.
Because
So
Facebook is one of our main communication sources. People joke that it's old people that use Facebook, but
no,
not true.
not true, not true. And we've
Yeah.
got over 10,000 groups. I don't know the exact number for genealogy,
Yeah.
including the group that I help run and I'm an admin for, the Genealogy Squad. We'd like to invite everybody to
Abs-
come to the genealogy.
yeah.
I'll bring that one up here too when we get ready to share.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just go ahead and do that.
Yeah, you
Where's
can
my on the present
you
button? I take it.
yep. Then go past tips and be sure across the top to pick full screen, because I know you have more than one monitor. And folks, as soon as your share screen is viable, I'll bring it up. And
Should
while she's
be this one.
doing that, yeah,
Hold
you
on.
had a tight schedule this morning. I appreciate
I
your
did, but
coming
it's
in.
I'm all yours now. So you should be able to
Okay.
see the Facebook, my browser, and opened up
Mhm.
to the Genealogy Squad. So this is the Genealogy Squad. We'd love to have you join us. It's no nonsense genealogy. We don't go off topic at all. We don't allow arguing. Everybody's got to play nice and be nice and stay on topic. The only thing we don't talk about there is DNA, because there's two other terrific groups that already existed. We thought we needed to have something for quality genealogical methodology and help to go along with those two DNA groups. And so that's why we don't discuss it there. We just don't need
Okay.
to do that. So please join.
Okay.
All right. We've got group rules here, dedicated threads, and it's a worldwide group. What have we got? Over 67,000 members right now.
Just a few people. This
Just
is
a few.
wonderful.
Just a few.
Yeah. Well, because
Okay,
you really answer questions there, and that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, we do. We do. It's straight up genealogy. And I think I'm really proud of it. It's so, gosh, are we over 5 years now, or coming up on 5 years, somewhere around there?
It's amazing. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Facebook spoofing and hacking. When you go into, if you guys were to look at my profile on Facebook, if you are not my friend, you will see the cover graphic and you will see my profile photo, because those are public on Facebook. And so what happens is nasty people in the world that are doing nasty things will come in and spoof an account by taking a copy of the cover graphic and a copy of the profile photo, and making a new profile. And they'll name themselves the same, and they'll go out and try to friend your friends. And the purpose of this, once they get a hold of, your friends think it's you, they accept the friend request, and then they basically open their profile to a stranger to go looking at it. So the purpose in this, they're going to try to scam them. They're looking for personal information. They're hoping there's things like birth dates and I don't know, personal information that we don't necessarily want to share with anyone other than our friends. So we can't do anything about the fact that Facebook has made the cover photos and the profile photos public. These are public. What we can do is protect our profile by locking down our friends list. So right now, if you are not my friend, you were to come in here and go under friends, you should see nothing. All right. I've got
Mhm.
this is me showing you right now my friends list. So there's a lot of people, but when you come in here, if you are not my friend, you would see nothing. The
Mhm.
way to do that is to go into your settings. So it's this link. I'm going to put it in the chat
Okay.
right now. And then everybody should be able to go to that same link. And under here where it says your friends, who can see your friends list? Only me. So I'm the only one that sees that. You guys should see nothing. All
Okay,
right.
could you share the link in the private chat? Because we need to get it over on the YouTube side and
I don't.
URLs.
Oh, there we go. I
Yeah,
was going to
thank
say,
you.
where's the private chat, Pat? I found it. I'm
Okay,
nobody's
so
fool today. All
I
right.
will now I will now go share it for you. No
Okay.
problem.
All right. So, who can see your friends list? Right now, it's locked down to only me. You can change this on your own settings. If you have it open to public, it means everybody in the world can see who your friends are. So when they go to spoof your account, a stranger halfway around the world can see all of your friends and then go in and try to interact with them. You could set it to only your friends on Facebook will see your friends list. You could say all friends except one person. So you could put an exception in there.
Your
Oh,
mom.
on my mom. I don't know why she's an exception. I think I was messing around with settings.
Yeah.
Or specific friends that I only want specific friends to see my friends list. I recently locked it down because I used to have it here for a long time. I locked it down to just me. I figured nobody needs to see who I'm friends with. So
Okay.
either only me or at least this one, but get it off of the public one. Because
Mhm.
again, the whole point here is they would come in, they would take my graphics, call themselves Cindy Engel, and then go out and try to friend Pat in the hopes that Pat is going to say, "Oh, Cindy's got a new profile. Okay, I'll be friends with her." And then they go in and see all of Pat's personal information that she's willing to share with friends. Because our
Mhm.
settings, and this is something too, you should regularly go in and check your settings. Once every couple of months, go in just to make sure nothing has changed on Facebook, that there's nothing that you wouldn't want to share out there. Like,
Mhm.
your email address, your personal information. There's personal details. I'm showing a lot on here, but your personal details would have your birth date and your phone number and so other things in here. So come in, look at your account, look at your personal details, and make sure you're okay with the settings that are there. But
Mhm.
doing this and setting it to only me is saving your friends from being bothered by somebody. Okay. They trusted you to be your friend. They need to trust that you're locking down your friends list so that uh, nasty people somewhere else in the world don't get a hold of it. So that's what spoofing
Perfect.
is. Spoofing is they're pretending to be you. They're taking your information, pretending to be you in the hopes that they can get in through a backdoor to your friends and see their personal information. So spoofing doesn't necessarily hurt you, it hurts your friends.
Mhm.
And that's the societal thing we need to do is make sure that we're being good to our friends on there. Quite often, people on Facebook will say, "Oh, I was hacked," and what they actually were was spoofed. They'll call it hacking all the time because they don't understand the difference. Hacking would be if somebody got into your account, they figured out your password, or they worked through and around your password and got in and started making changes to your account. They take it over, they change your password, they get into your personal information. That is harm to you. That if you've got a good password, you've turned on two-factor verification, and you're careful with updating your password frequently, we rarely would get hacked. If you've got good virus protection on your computer, if you're good about your passwords and so on, rarely is the everyday person going to get hacked on their Facebook account. Most of the time, what we're seeing is spoofing.
A lot of people complain about two-part authentication. I love it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I've had my credit card compromised,
Hmm.
and just with that, it takes days to resolve the issue. The bank luckily notifies me because
Yeah,
suddenly somebody's buying something at a store I would never walk into, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
They know
It's a
me well
mess to
enough.
clean up. You do not want to clean up having lost your financial information or whatever it might be.
Right.
So
So the
I
whole point of two-part authentication is to protect you. So don't complain about it, guys.
yeah.
That would be foolish to grouch about two-part authentication.
Yes, it is. That is foolish. Don't do that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
meant to protect us. Now, this
Yeah.
is, I'm showing you guys obviously on the web, the version to get to privacy. If you're on your mobile device or phone, it's basically the same thing, but you go into, look for your profile button where your picture is and come down to settings and privacy is how I got there. On the phone, it was under, oh, it already closed. I had it ready. Again, click on your profile picture. I'm an iPhone user, so for me, it's down on the bottom lower right corner. Might be
Yeah.
different on another phone. I'm not sure. But anyway, and then go to how under settings and privacy, and
Okay,
then
I'm doing that. Yep.
and then audience and visibility is where Facebook has it now. And it's under how people find and contact you. And that's where you would see the same thing. Who can see your friends list, and you can change it from
Mm-hmm.
public to friends, only friends of friends, or only me. So
Mm-hmm.
they move it. I would give you screenshots of this, but about 2 months from now, Facebook will rearrange everything and we won't be able to find it again. But it's always going to be under settings and privacy. You may have to dig around the next time you go to make a change if Facebook does rearrange things a little bit. But we need to be savvy. We need to be savvy so we aren't fools on Facebook, and look at our settings. Make sure we're not exposing ourselves or our friends. And that two-factor verification is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got another one for you that you didn't ask me for, Pat, but let me know if we've covered this one well.
Okay, we've only covered, well, no, I'm sure we haven't, because this is the beginning. We've handled how to do bulk rename with a prefix, a whole bunch of files at
Nice.
once, on both a Mac and a PC, demonstrated on screen. Then we talked about not avoiding, about the problem we create for ourselves by not collaborating with an online tree situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I meant was, did I cover everything you wanted about spoofing and hacking? I think.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So
All
here's
right.
another
So we get our
one.
bonus round. Yay.
Well, this is a Facebook thing. It's making me crazy.
Yeah.
So this kind of post, you guys may have seen these. Your friends are sharing these and they come up on your timeline. And it says
Mhm.
it's always about a dog that's been lost or hurt. They've gone to the vet, he's not chipped, and then it says, "Please help me bump this post so I can find the owner." And when you go, and it always says bump for some reason. And when you go down
Mhm.
below, they've turned off comments. Now, why would somebody want to help a lost dog but not turn on comments? That doesn't make sense. And in this one, and they're always in this case, this was a McHenry County, they're always in like a community Facebook group, like the buy
Mhm.
sell or the community, news and information group. They're always public groups that are publicly available to everybody. And the post on this one has been shared 4.6 thousand times. These are scams. It's well known. There's a couple of articles online about them. But what they do is they want everybody to share them. Then in a week or two, they go swap out the actual information because you've shared it on your personal wall. They swap it out and they end up doing other things. It's a bait and switch. Okay. I don't know
So they
exactly what
might
they're doing.
change what the photo is and
They
have it
change the
be
photo, the
a
contents,
naked woman or something like
all
that.
kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. Yes. And these are shared every day. And I've seen this one I've seen it in California. I've seen it in Illinois, the one with the St. Bernard, same exact post, same text, but in multiple groups. I know that
Mhm.
we love animals and I know that we are caring about, oh, this is so sad and I'm going to share. Be careful about what you share. What you share goes on your wall. What you share goes out to all your friends. Investigate first. We are genealogists. We're supposed to research things first. So make sure you go follow up and see, is this real or not? Just following into this particular link tells me a lot. The fact that it's been shared, but nobody can comment.
Yeah.
And then when you go into this housing, whoever housing is, it's a let's see, they just joined in February. How old is the thing? They've only posted the one thing there. They're not real. It's not got a real post. If we go look at their profile, usually they're brand new too, but they may not be. There's not much going on there. Look, somebody here's posted scam. So
Yeah.
dig around is the whole point. Dig around, look, and don't be fooled by these lost pet ads because they're everywhere.
Wow. I know.
Yeah.
I hear you. I actually, I received a telephone call that said it was, I think his name was Kevin at the Social Security office.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the Social Security office. I said, "Do you have a Kevin whose extension is 2, 3, 4, 6. And they said, yes, we do. And I'm like,
Good
you're
job.
kidding. It ended up that an important paper had been returned, and I had changed the order. We're going through our estate,
Yeah.
and all the papers and who should have right to privacy, or HIPAA things if we're in the, And so
Mhm.
one of them was who could administer or deal with Social Security if I were incapacitated, not dead yet. And so they were sending me paper confirmation, hard copy confirmation that that was legit, or that this is what they thought was true.
But see, the fact that you paused because it was something important, you looked at it carefully, and you called and checked up, there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I actually went to the office because it was right next to Taco Bell, where I was going to have a taco salad for lunch. And, I don't answer the phone when it's a number I don't know. And
I don't either.
T-Mobile said it was Social Security. I'm like, yeah, right. Because
Yeah.
they can make it any name they want. I'm not trying to make people be fearful. But one of the interesting things, I'm glad I went there, because I brought with me material that showed where I lived, etc., and she
Mhm.
says, "We don't have that address in our file." And I said, "Well, when I updated this with my daughter's names added, not just Mr. Myrt, um, I also changed my address." And she said, "Well, you're not the first one that's come to us and said this. There's a problem with the address field." So she updated my address field.
Good.
But that communication might not have occurred if I just did this online and was only concentrating on who are my designated pre-appointed somebody or others,
Yeah.
like guardians. So it's what we got to do, little research, and we're good at it, as you say, Cindy.
Yep. Yep.
You have recently taken on a new title.
Yes, I have.
How does
Last
that
September,
feel? Yes.
I'm the executive director for the for IJHR, the Institute of Genealogy and Historical Research. It is work.
It
It's a lot of
is.
work. We are the courses start in July. I do not have them memorized. July 21st, I believe.
I'm pulling it up. Don't worry.
There we go.
Yeah.
For some reason, yeah, July 21st to 26th. Thank you.
Yes.
15 different courses. If you look on the IJHR 2024 tab there,
Yeah.
it's a 1-week virtual institute, 13 topics to choose from. 2 of them, we've got fundamentals of DNA and intermediate DNA. We've got methods and sources, intermediate and advanced methodology. Those first 3, courses 1 through 3, those are terrific to take all in a row. And then, of course, writing with Tom Jones, and then military, Irish, land records, research in the South, African American course that's going to be fabulous with Debbie Abbott. And
who's not on Facebook, by the
who's
way.
not on Facebook. Debbie Abbott, not on Facebook. Debbie, not on Facebook Abbott. That's what we
Yeah.
And then course 13 is brand new, researching French ancestors, so French speaking ancestors. So it's
Wow.
just a wonderful lineup of professionals and well-respected lecturers to teach you, give a 1-week focused, intensive education of your choice there. So I do invite everybody to come and take a look at what we've got to offer. I'm
We have
really enjoying it, Pat. I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
So in our private chat, Maria Capaldi said, "Do you ever sleep?"
I not well anymore, Maria. Not
I hear
well.
you. I
You know,
only
I'm wearing 3 hats, Pat. The Cindy's List and 3 different jobs basically. And then IGHR, but the other is also me teaching, lecturing and study groups and so on. And so 2 of my 3 jobs are all about genealogical education. I believe in it so strongly. It's one of the things that we need to do for ourselves to make sure we're going to be able to move forward in our research processes. We've got to learn.
we have to learn. Now,
Yeah.
I would like to just talk with you and one-on-one about my feelings about going to an institute. I've worked with Salt Lake Institute of Genealogy, both as a tech person in person and doing their first virtual events, etc. There's a difference between going to a conference where you, as the attendee, pick and choose what it is you want to go sit and listen to,
Yes. Yeah.
as opposed to an institute where it's instructor led information that's being presented to you. These experts know that you need to know this before this and this and this can happen. And they give you practical challenges.
Yes.
And being able to take a week of your life. Well, they do give you Friday afternoon off, but by then you're
And
pretty
lunch
much
breaks. We
dead.
do let people have lunch.
Oh, well, that's true. Sleeping may be an option depending on how you do with your homework. They actually give you homework.
Yeah.
One year I took a course from, it was the last year Elizabeth Shown Mills taught at IGHR, and it was at Samford before they went over to Georgia.
Mhm.
And I got a gold star on one of my homework assignments. It was Gov Docs, no less, one of the harder ones. And
Of course
that's
you did.
that means the world to me that
Mhm.
that she gave me that gold star, that stamp of approval. Although that was the year that she ate all the Hershey bars that she planned to give her students for having survived. We got little buttons that said I survived course 4 and a chocolate bar. So she had to
Oh, that's cute.
quickly go out and get
And
more
buy
the
more.
next. Yeah, but I understand. I have also worked with GRIP and have seen
Mhm.
from a technical point of view how quickly the instructors are adapting to virtual if it has to be virtual.
Yeah.
Is this in person
This
or
is it.
virtual?
This is virtual. And it'll be
This is
virtual
for
next couple of years. Yeah.
yeah.
The
And
nice
what
part about
platform?
virtual, we can reach a whole lot more people than we could before with a virtual.
And you can have a greater variety of instructors
Yes. Yes, we
because they're
can.
not having to fly in from France.
Yes,
Although I'd
exactly.
like to, can we do one where there's a field trip to France?
I'll work on that. Yeah, we'll get
Yeah,
that one.
I think so. Okay.
It
Well,
and we do have a lecture from France in the French course. And so
mhm.
it's amazing to be able to get experts in their field from anywhere and not be quite so limited as to when it's in person. But
Mhm.
in the spirit of the day, don't be a fool. Focus on your genealogical education. That's
Yeah.
really, really important.
Yeah. Adults are interesting. I taught computers in the post-secondary setting and corporate setting, and they think that they don't remember that when they learned to ride a bike, they had training wheels and somebody
Mhm.
worked with them and they practiced. And you work up to something like an institute. I wasn't capable of doing government document research um, at day one. Back
Yeah.
in the whenever it was, you started with your website, and Dick Eastman started with his newsletter, and
Mhm.
old Myrt did something, and this was
Mhm.
happening over on, yeah, Prodigy. Yeah, we weren't perfect at the get go, but
No, we weren't.
some adults think they are, and
Yeah.
that it's always been spelled that way, etc. And therefore, it's that this is not my ancestor. It might well be, but
Well,
anyway.
anybody
All right,
that thinks they can't learn something new every day is a fool. So there we go. I'm
good
just saying
point.
that out loud.
Yeah, thanks for thanks for saying that.
We can learn
I
something new every single day in
Well,
genealogy, or anything else really, but in
this
genealogy.
is why I appreciate you and others joining in because I don't know it all. I
Mhm.
didn't know
I don't either.
certain things. Somebody had to teach me.
Mhm.
And then I like to be able to make a platform where you all can share your expertise. And I thank you for being here today.
Thanks for
And
having me.
okay. Don't forget to hit that donate button, folks, over there on
Thank you, Pat.
cindyslist.com. Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good. All right.
Off.
She's there we go. All right. She's in the backstage now. All right. What's next on the docket? Let's see. We did Hillary. Oh, yeah. I would like to point out something. We're going to pull this up. And this is an article that Gina Philibert Ortega wrote. And it's about the conundrums that we encounter when it comes to studying our female ancestors and actually making progress. Now, let me actually present my screen here. And there we go. She writes an article very regularly. I was going to say periodically, but very regularly, and it's posted over on the website of our friends at Genealogy Bank. And she will you want to follow her anyway. She's a smart cookie. And she wrote this blog post in honor of Women's History Month. But she found that there are 4 basic mistakes that genealogists make when researching female ancestors. And one of the thoughts was assuming things like nobody ever got divorced back then. Might have taken an act of the state legislature, but yeah. All women married. Nope. Women didn't work back then. Oh, yes, they did. Even in non-traditional roles. Yeah. Don't make assumptions. The other one was not exhausting all the resources that have survived. There was a time when I was starting to do research at the Washington, D.C. Family History Center that's up there adjacent to the Temple grounds in Kensington, Maryland. And I would look in the catalog of the Family History Library, now called the Family Search Library, and I would look for churches in the area where my ancestor had lived in England, not recognizing that the LDS Church, then called the Genealogical Society of Utah, now called Family Search, didn't have everything on every church that was in this tiny little place over in England. It happened to be Bisham. Can't remember the shire it's in, but it's over on the east side. And so I thought I was looking at all the resources that may have survived because I didn't know any better. I've done that. Also, a lot of people fail to recognize that no one website has everything. I always ask people, where are your ancestors from? And they'll say Ohio, but I'm like, I want to know their immigrant ancestor. And if that's Scotland, they hit the jackpot because Scotland's people.gov.uk was the first national government that decided, hey, it'd be a good idea to digitize things like the vital records and the probate and the church records. They didn't have that separation of church and state. Let me pull up that people, Scotland's people.gov.uk. And I'll pull it over as soon as it comes up. Didn't like my typing. One of the reasons that I like to go to websites is so you can get brand recognition and know that old Myrt would not send you to a website that isn't kosher. www.scotlandspeople.gov.uk. I put an extra E in there. Here we are. Finally got it up. All right. So this is what it looks like. This is their logo, Scotland's People. So when you go visiting Scotland's People, you will feel comfortable there. Now, yeah, they've got the 1921 census. You can search their records, and they do it by people, by place. Wow, this is where I spend most of my time in doing research. They don't, thoughtlessly, the indexers of the world haven't indexed every single document that mentions my family specifically. I spend most of my time in catalogs online for the place where my ancestor lived to look for a record set that covers that time period when my ancestor happened to live there. And And then in the 1/2 of a second till it comes up, I cross my fingers and say a prayer and hope that there's a multitude of church records, etc. Yeah, let me share this with you. scotlandspeople.gov.uk. Search our records. Okay, it would be nice if I sent it out to the public side. Let's see. I've got some comments. Sherry's saying, so exciting when someone you help get started comes back with something they discovered that you didn't know about. Yeah. And you can see Sherry has that little crescent wrench by her name. That means that she is a moderator over there on the YouTube side. And I appreciate your serving that way. My cousin Jean says, those who don't have advanced knowledge don't know it. And someone who has been doing genealogy for only 6 months might consider themselves advanced because they don't know what they do not know. I get it. Let's see. Katie up there in New York says, I have seen so many spellings of the name O'Brien. It makes my head spin. When Germans and Dutch get hold of an Irish name, you never know what they'll do with it. And Hillary says, even though we have much more available now, we still have gaps and some records that don't exist due to destruction. I see Frank, you're in the backstage. He's out there in the wings. And yeah, he's saying, yeah, he agrees with that. And not everything was a priority to digitize, was it? When Family Search first went into a courthouse, they try to get the marriage index, the probate index, the will index, because they couldn't do every single probate packet with all its little slips of paper that people signed when they received their yearly stipend, etc. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, cool comments, and I love that we can bring this in. All right, let's go back to see what her third option is. Using only one name to search. Now, let me bring Leave up here because that's something that's near and dear to our gal in Norway, Leave.
Yes.
You have this, this was your thing to share as well. Using only one name to search. How is this? I'll pull up your blog post or your post if I can find it. And talk to me about that error of only searching once for a name. And, you know, talk to me about that.
Yeah. Sometimes I have experienced that I have misspelled the name, and then I found some matches. So,
oh, like by mistake you did it, and then that worked.
Yeah. So
I hear you.
They say creativity is very important in searching, and one might get ideas from doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the few times. You know, every website has a different type search algorithm, right?
Yep.
And so you don't know if they let you use the wildcards for Boolean search or not. Used to drive me nuts because one website, everybody does first name and last name, and it was one of the U.S. federal websites that put last name first. And so I always made that mistake because I put the wrong name in the that first field. I was putting the first name in the field for surname. Yeah.
In Norway, we have some challenges when searching. Everybody has got that. It's difficult, but we have dialects, and we have different languages. We have at least 3 languages in Norway now. The Sami language and what is called bokmål and nynorsk. And we have got dialects, and dialects are used much more today. So, for example, I wanted to find a place called Brustuen, and the word stuen is a more archaic version in this area. And today they say stuggu. And I tried to find it on a map, or tried to find it, and I had to use Facebook to help me be creative in that respect.
You know, we need to use all the technology we can to try to find something. Use Google, use Facebook. There are thousands and thousands of genealogy related websites that can help. So did you use a Norwegian Facebook group and say, why can't I find this? And somebody says, oh, that's an archaic term. It's now called this. Somebody else
No,
who
I
was
use
willing to share.
local Facebook group, and I use it all the time. I share pictures to find out who's who. I ask for facts, things that I don't know because I'm not from that area, but I've heard some of the terms, and I get the help I need. But there are ways to remedy this, and there are dictionaries in Norway with names, so the given names, and the digital archive, they have variations of every name. So a name called like Gertrude, Gjertrud, they have spelled it 180 different ways to pick up on everything during the last few hundred years, and misspellings and everything.
Crazy. It's hard to keep. If you can't spell Smith at least 13 different ways, you're not even trying. Yeah. Okay. What I did was I just shared the link to those on the YouTube side who are listening or who may tune in later, to your blog post, because you also have a lot of advice about how to do research. And we have your book. We're so happy to support your book on Norwegian research. Thank you for sharing this with us today, Liv. Thanks for visiting.
Thank you.
So the fourth thing that our gal, Gina, has said, searching, not browsing. So the problem with this is you don't know everything, right? You know how we used to say when we were in elementary school, I can't use a dictionary because I don't know how to spell the word. Well, yeah, that's the difference between searching and just browsing. Now, luckily, we had little teeny dictionaries that we worked with, not Oxford's big heavy one that's sitting on my dictionary stand that my dad made. We know how to do a search, but sometimes we just need to browse and see what comes up. Here's what she's saying. It means you skip the search engine and go straight to the newspaper or database, and you look through it page by page or by a specific year. Well, it takes a lot of time. Yeah, I'd like to hear from the members who are watching on the other side. You can hit the subscribe button and you get a notice whenever I go live. But you're a member if you show up, okay? Tell me what you've learned by looking at old newspapers, not just for that obituary, but you look for you might get interested and read that whole issue for that day or that week. Sometimes historically, the paper only came out once a week. What kinds of things did you learn? Panelists, let me know what you think about that. And while you're thinking and typing, let me bring up the dictionary point of view. Betty Lou uses the dictionary to check her spelling. Yeah, I use Google all the time and I still make typographical errors. Yeah. Yeah. One advantage is to go through the image because things get mistranscribed. Yeah, let me bring you up on the stage, Hillary. Tell me how newspapers have helped you with your research, browsing rather than searching just for a person's name.
Yeah. Well, you find all sorts of things. You find out what the cost of things were. You find out, you know, you can, well, by searching for a name, you might find that somebody is been up in court or something, but you find out a lot more if by actually going to the whole article and reading through, because then you might find there's somebody else on that same page as well by looking at the paper and the actual pages.
Mhm. It puts your research more, your frame of reference into the historical context for that time period, as opposed to our very luxurious lives here in the 21st century. Here we are represented from multiple states, countries, different time zones, etc., and we're being brought together by technology. But in the olden days, if my ancestor wanted to send a letter back home to the family in Germany in let's see, in 1800, that it went on a slow boat, very slow boat.
Yeah,
I don't,
sometimes you can find out things about what's been going on in England, in the family, by looking at, say, an Australian or New Zealand newspaper, because somebody over there might have they might have a report over that such somebody's coming to visit, or whatever. You don't necessarily need to just stick to the country that they were living in.
Mhm. Yeah, I was once tasked with creating a poster for a friend's church in Georgia, and it was their 100th anniversary. And so I did a newspaper search because she said there was a big celebration at 50 years, and then there was something she thought she heard that their church, had an open house or something like that when it was first founded. Well, yeah, I did the search and found those two things. But what I did, particularly for that issue that announced that they were having an open house, I read that 100. That was pretty expensive, you know. Yeah, but and you could see the price of meat or how much a house rental would be, which was extremely inexpensive. But I was having to remember, okay, the dollar wasn't, the same. A dollar here wasn't the same then. KD says she learned that her grandmother had dementia and she was found wandering the streets and the police picked her up. And our friend Valerie says by searching newspapers every page, she learned that many times my mom won bowling tournaments. And when she got her first perfect 300 game, she was quite a bowler. Okay. Sherry says, you fill in the details of their lives. I have a friend who found an ancestor who lost 2 teams of horses in separate incidences trying to race a train to a crossing, and he didn't. Oh no. That's a terrible story. He didn't learn the first time. Jeez Louise. You might find additional family members you didn't know about. Yeah, you heartily agree with that, don't you?
Yeah, you find a wedding report and you find somebody's married name for a lady, for a woman or something, which that might be the only clue that you get before you then, because you think, well, particularly if you've got Smiths and things in your family tree, how are you going to find out how this person with a Smith surname married when it could be some Elizabeth Smith, say, which is probably a really common name.
Yeah.
You can find out. But if you find out, that the brother or somebody got married, and that you find that report, you might find, they mention who the rest of the people were, or even a funeral, a wedding, a funeral, anything like that, where the family get together. I found lots of information from obituaries or wedding discussions of the wedding. I found a discussion of my husband's grandmother's grandparents' wedding. I've got a photograph of it, but now I've got a discussion, and I know what colour the dress was and things like that. It described it. So
Totally fun. You know, the interesting thing too, when you said the part of you find out about married names. So they will say things like, and the bride's sister, Mary, which you knew, but then a different last name, not the maiden name. You now have a married name, and that may be, as you say, the first indication. Yeah. Yeah. Now this is interesting. Deneen says something, this helped her understand her great-grandmother better. She thought her great-grandmother was almost overly prim and proper from her letters. But when she checked the local paper for that date, she recognizes that she put it into context because that was the parlance of the day. I think that's what you're trying to tell me, Deneen. Yeah. And then, of course, Ellen says, I learned my uncle sold a tape recorder back in the 70s. And we need to say the 1970s because I know they didn't have them in 1870. That's something to keep in mind. The way that we, as genealogists, want to do well is to specify the whole century, all 4 numerals. No offense, I know you're quickly typing this, so you could bring it in. But you could have a Mary Jane Smith from the 1870s who's very different from the Mary Jane Smith of the 20th century. And so if we only did the 70s, we wouldn't know, right? Let's see. Betty Lou says, by browsing a newspaper by the last name, I found an aunt's death in the 1849 newspaper. It's the only record of the aunt that she ever knew about. And something about, I found the date that my dad signed officially with the Philadelphia Phillies. No wonder you're so crazy about ball games. Yeah, I did not know that. Wow. Yeah. All right. Oh, so this is a follow-on by Deneen. She complained about ruffians on the 4th of July, and the printer apologized next week for the lateness of the paper as his help was too drunk to work. Oh my gosh. And Linda Stufflebean says, we pull it up, found out my great-grandfather fell out of a second-floor window to concrete while he was drunk, but was uninjured. Now that's a miracle. Probably, yeah. We knew what you meant. It was the Phillies, Maria. No problemo. Okay. All right. We're going to have to do the lightning round here so that I can get through the rest of these things. One of the things that Janice M. Sellers brought up, let me do this. And Randy, thank you. I know he has family, and that's why Randy Seaver isn't here today. His daughter, one of his daughters and his grandson are visiting. She has an entire blog post here about using something called the IGI, which is the International Genealogical Index. That was a database of data, most of which was transcribed through the name extraction program, which predated the online family search indexing that many of you are participating in. But a small percentage are patron submitted. And as much as we have begged of family search, they have not come up with making a designation between the two, because I consider a name extraction program with 2 people looking at the same document and coming up with a conclusion more reliable than any old patron whom I cannot evaluate their in the way of their competency, and they didn't have double-blind data entry. Anyway, IGI can have mistakes in it. But the bottom line is it's an index, International Genealogical Index. At the time, it was the only place that you could share your genealogy data, and they were just single entries. Like for a census record, it would be child and parent, marriage record. It wasn't all in pedigree format. That's how ancient this stuff was. And so you can read more about that challenge. Trusting an index, never good. Okay, this is leaves. Oh, and I've got a couple of horrible things. My heritage is congratulating Janice Teagan, from Idaho for completing her family tree. Oh yeah, that's right. It's April Fool's Day. When I first read this notice by my favorite forensic genealogy author, Nathan Dillon Goodwin, that he had just written Morton's death scene. Now, Morton Ferrier is his lead character, his lead investigator. We were all like, this has got to be an April Fool's joke. Worst joke ever, in my opinion. We all got a little bit upset about that. Yeah, it is April Fool's Day. We've had a bit of fun visiting with all sorts of interesting people today, talking about things where they had challenges, etc. I do want to bring up and do a little bit of housekeeping before we go. One of the things to tell you is that on YouTube, okay, we don't want to do that. This is the live one. There's about a 15-second delay. So let's go look at one of the videos, like for last week. Okay. Not only is the video archived, and I'm turning off the sound, but the chat is archived. And it progresses as the video progresses. So you will be able to see the video and the comments and the links we mentioned right here, because I clicked a little option to let the live chat stay on. Messages that appeared when the stream was live will show up here. Okay? Please do consider subscribing. Okay, I'm going to unsubscribe. Sounds terrible, but it's really cute. See that little colorful thing? It means the world to me if you subscribe. It means the world to me if you share. And there's the link. You can share that link on Facebook or just copy it to your clipboard and share it wherever to have your friends come join us. All right. I think it's about our time, isn't it? We're only 3 minutes over. That's pretty good, isn't it? The first time in recorded history, I'm within 3 minutes of our scheduled time. Well, folks, I hope you have a wonderful April Fool's Day and are not foolish, but use smart options when climbing your family tree. And there's nothing left to say, but I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.